And one fella that I talked to on television and radio over the years and always enjoyed, because there's an encyclopedia on everything to do with travel and holidays. Eoghan Corry, owner and editor of Travel Extra. And of course, January is the time that people cast their gaze forward to when it's brighter, sunnier and warmer. Welcome to the programme, Eoghan. What are the best deals you have for us?
Oh, good morning, Ivan. What a great introduction. 9th day of Christmas. I think we haven't fallen out yet, so we're doing well. And admit it, you would wish to be somewhere else with palm trees over your head and blue skies and sand between your toes, wouldn't you?
Well, you know me, I have a phobia about flying, will not get on an aeroplane, so it's not for me. If I get to Camolan, I'm quite happy.
Oh, there's great ferry services. You've got a terrific ferry service just from
we do.
to Bilbao. 30 hours at sea. I've done it. Went all the way there and all the way back again, and it's absolutely fabulous, very luxurious, and great services from Ryanair. So one of the great advantages of Brexit was the number of ferry services we got off the island has increased massively. So we've got a lot of direct services.
Yeah, absolutely, because everything used to go through the land bridge of the UK, and now there are direct EU services for both cargo and people. All right, we've asked you to go through the special offers, the new routes for flying and so on. What have you got for us?
Okay, first off, the Aer Lingus sale. January 15 is your closing date. And if you're going to, looking at the transatlantic options, and they're very good fares there, it'll be May 31st is your close-off date. June the 15th is your close-off date for the European fares. British Airways have a sale. Emirates Etihad approaching it a little bit differently. They're discounting individual destinations. One of the reasons for that is Australia is a big route, and they never really discount that anymore. But all of the airlines look to January. You know, people are, the wishbone of the turkey has been pulled. They begin to think about travel, and it's when you need cash. And one of the things they do to get that cash in is they put a lot of sales, some of them flash sales. Ryanair had a very interesting flash sale last week. Expect a few more of those. And as you say, the new routes. New routes are key. Most airline aviation executives will look at a new route and say, oh, it's going to take us a while to get this into the public mind. And it's almost like a lost leader in a supermarket. They put fares into the market. Sometimes it grows, and by the second or the third year, the fares are back up. What that means for our listeners is that new routes is the place to make hay, particularly where you have more than one airline entering a new route. Very interesting. Minneapolis, we didn't have a route. We had one pre-pandemic, and Aer Lingus decided to return to Minneapolis this summer, and Delta also decided to go the same way. So they're the sort of places you'll see terrific prices. JetBlue, they're a low-cost airline, not in the Ryanair sense. They've a business class and a premium economy, but they've put very, very low fares on two new routes. If they're new to Ireland, Boston and JFK, and what that has done has pulled down the other airline fares on the New York route, which is key to the Irish market. For instance, the Aer Lingus fare has 179 one way to New York. Haven't seen those sort of fares since the global financial recession. Overall, we've 30 new routes out of Irish airports this summer, Ivan, for people who don't have a phobia about flying.
Indeed. And speaking of Ryanair, they've just released quite extraordinary statistics of their travel in 2023.
Yeah, we take them for granted. 1985, that turboprop with the Romanian aircrew that flew from Waterford, not far from where you grew up, to Gatwick. That was, you know, from that start, over 100 airlines have started since and failed. What Ryanair have done is they've just grown and grown and grown. They passed Aer Lingus. They then passed British Airways around 2008. This year's figures are 181 million passengers carried in the year. That puts them ahead of everyone else in Europe. The Lufthansa Group were second, and they are 60 million ahead of the Lufthansa Group. If this was a sports field, everybody would be sort of waving the flag and saying how great it is. We tend to take Ryanair for granted, and the achievement of that is quite extraordinary, because one of the things that happened during the pandemic was that most all airlines started beginning to panic about cash. Ryanair was sitting on a mountain of it. He lost perhaps 1.3 billion euro, but he kept his aircraft certified and his pilots licensed. What that meant was when things opened up again, he was in a position to jump He's taken market share all over Europe, 180 million passengers, way ahead. First in Europe and third in the world. It's quite a great achievement.
So does this mean my mate Michael will get his 100 million bonus?
Oh, he's as grumpy as ever. He's one of the most amazing things.
He's a Man City fan, though. That is the consoling fact.
One of the amazing things that happened was in market capitalization, which is all that language that you guys in the business desk you would deal with, is that Ryanair are now the largest airline in the world in market cap. They've overtaken Delta at the beginning of January. It does look like he'll get his bonus. He's not really. He's motivated by different things. He wouldn't be. He's one of these guys who lives in Ireland, pays his tax in Ireland, all of that, but he does love winning a race. He's very, very competitive, and he's going to be putting about 3,000 flights in the sky every day during the summer of 2024. That's where he's happiest, plotting routes, moving into, and particularly when he's taking market share off other guys.
Okay, so escapism from January blues. Where is going to be, for a package holiday, leaving aside the sort of carrier situation, what would you say in terms of value for money or in terms of guaranteed fun in the sun? What are you recommending?
Always back to the same places, Portugal and Spain. One of the things that we have got more services to, the key trunk routes there are Faro and Malaga. And if you're looking at family, you're obviously not going to be putting it together because hell has no fury like a teenager who's sent to the wrong destination. So you're going to be going back in for advice, expert advice. There are about 200 travel agents around the country. They don't do what they used to do long ago. They do very specialist services, and there are two major tour operators operating out of Ireland to the sun. One of them is TUI, the other one is Sunway. They compete a little bit, and they tend not to put the flash sales that they used to. Some listeners, I'd be too young to remember this, but some listeners will remember the queue outside Budget Travel in Gillian Bowler's time. But what they do now is they put vouchers of about €500 against the different holidays, and they have a very low deposit. If you book on an airline, on a low-cost airline or any sort of airline, you need to have the money in your credit card and put it on now. Both TUI and Sunway have a €50 deposit, and they've great family options with water parks. Some of the family destinations, Globales, Bougainville in Mallorca or Estepona, they would have theme parks. They're almost theme parks in themselves, and the huge water slides. I brought my own children to those sort of places when they were young, and back to the ferry and back to France, because once your children move beyond that sort of 10, 11, going to secondary school time, gets a little bit more complicated taking them away. Absolute surefire winner is camping. Camping doesn't mean sitting under your tent.
It's a bit rough and ready. It's like the jungle.
No, not at all. It doesn't mean the tent with the leaky bit over your head.
Like what do they do for toilets?
It's all self-catering. It's equivalent to self-catering. Mobile homes with air conditioning, proper cooking facilities, all of those sort of things. Some of those camps, you can stay in tree houses. They come with zip lines. They come with, some of them with 3 or 4 water parks. The ones that Ireland likes best are about 5 hours from the ferry ports, the 2 ferry ports in Normandy and Brittany, and it's around the Vendée when you go down past.
And what would you say would be, say, 2 adults, 2 kids of whatever age?
You're
what would be a reasonable budget? How much?
You're budgeting in about $1,200 a week, and obviously the way revenue is moving is that those prices pop up and down according to the season. The secret weapon for Irish people, especially Irish people whose children aren't, or whose teenagers are not doing exams, is that we break for schools about 3, 4, 5 weeks out before some of the other major markets, notably Britain, and you get very, very good prices in June. Spikes terribly when July, August, when the other main markets like Britain and Germany arrive on the scene. And the other great secret is St. Patrick's Day. Nobody else has days off around that time of the year. That's terrific for particularly ski. If you're going skiing, you're going to do everything to avoid the Parisian midterm. But when it comes to March, particularly the Austrian resorts, they do great packages for the Irish because they're aware that we have a bank holiday when nobody else has and a few days off. They light the mountains up in green. It's great, great fun. The main thing with our market, and we do quite a lot of trips. We do about 11 million trips abroad for our per head of population. The only country that travels more in the world than us is Norway, and I suspect we may have passed them out post pandemic. But we are have that advantage that we have a slightly different school calendar than other countries.
I get it.
And June
Okay.
is a very very
Finally,
good time to move.
one quick question. Text here. We'd like to travel to Chicago, then on to New York and home to Dublin. Who's the cheapest to fly with?
You've got good options for Chicago. Have a look at particularly the new server out of Chicago is United from Shannon. I noticed their prices are very good. Chicago is actually ahead of New York in terms of bookings this time last year. And you've got obviously it's a big hub for United, and you've got Aer Lingus services as well. New York, we've got three compete. When you put Newark into the equation, you've got United to Newark, you've got Delta, Aer Lingus, and JetBlue, as I said. So New York is good. New York is going to be very, very good. And another good transatlantic option, particularly if you're transferring, anywhere in America, is Toronto, because we've 4 carriers on that route competing with each other. Air Canada, it's their home. And the big advantage of Air Canada is, unlike the others, you don't have to take your bag off in Toronto and put it through customs there. They'll bring it on to your transfer destination. I did it last year. My heart was in my mouth waiting in Ottawa for the bag to show up on the carousel, but it did. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that Irish Connections can sometimes behave a little bit differently.
The programme ends at 12 o'clock.
Is that a departure call? Is that the gate, my gate, go to my gate call?
There is nothing this man doesn't know about travel advice, and he is the owner and editor of Travel Extra. Do check it out. Eoghan Corry, thank you.